This is the Week 9 Fantasy Football Preview of the Denver Broncos at Baltimore Ravens. Brought to you by Fantasy Football Time. Follow us at Fantasy FB Time on all social media platforms. We actually have a battle of 5-3 teams. If I were to tell you the Broncos versus the Ravens, would you believe that they have the same record? Crazy. No one's talking about the Broncos. Let's take a look at last week. Broncos handled Carolina at home. Nix quietly making his way into fantasy relevancy. He's kind of has that Jaden Daniels vibe, but really not being celebrated. Not as prime time as Daniels, but hey, here we are. 32 fantasy points, 4 touchdowns, 3 on the air, 1 on the ground. Javonte Williams, after having an amazing day the other week, only 44 yards as a rebound. Courtland Sutton, 28 passing yards for Sutton, but he also managed 8 catches and 100 yards. Adam Trautman, 17 fantasy points with a touchdown on 4 catches. Jaleel McLaughlin also having a good day the other week. Got 12 fantasy points with 1 touchdown catch. The Ravens losing in a surprise loss at the Browns. Lamar Jackson having a great start to the game, but I feel like Baltimore takes their foot off the gas, it feels like. But regardless, still got 26 solid fantasy points. He's still your number 1 fantasy player for the year. Over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. Derrick Henry, we take for granted 73 yards and a touchdown because we like to see that multi-score game, but certainly has an amazing streak going. I think he's one of the top 5 fantasy players of the year as well. Zay Flowers, healthy, was questionable going into the week. If you played him, congrats. He got 15 fantasy points and 115 yards. He just cannot find that end zone, though. Mark Andrews does, though. He has been coming on as of late, making one of the top fantasy options. Remember the beginning where it was all likely, where's Andrews? Well, my conspiracy theory was that Andrews was on a pitch count from that leg injury, but he certainly has found his groove again with Lamar and certainly is now a fantasy relevant tight end. Agholor also just does enough, only 2 projected, but gets 3 catches and a score. Baltimore is a heavy favorite at home. Pretty good over-under. Nix, Javonte Williams, Courtland Sutton are your top 3 fantasy options for this week. The Ravens defense, who historically has been great, allowed 29 to Cleveland, 31 to Tampa Bay, and 23 versus the Commanders. So they do pressure, but only 3 turnovers over 3 games. Scratching my head. But so if I'm a Bronco fantasy manager, I'm playing these 3 players, and I think you're going to probably get 3 touchdowns. Seems like I think we're going to do 2 in the air, 1 on the ground, or 1 in the air, 2 on the ground, because Nix can run it in too. So some combination of that seems about right. Lamar, Derrick, Zay. Welcome Deontay Johnson from Carolina, who magically his rib injury went away, is all healthy now. Congratulations. Mark Andrews also only 7 forecasted. Deontay Johnson does bring a boost to the mix. I think when you have all these weapons, it's not a matter like the Texans, when they had Collins, Diggs, and Dell, they just didn't have a high power enough offense to feed everybody. Lamar and the Ravens, they can feed everybody. So I would predict everybody getting a touchdown, minus Flowers, but he'll get over 100 yards. Luckily, Lamar is healthy. He was a couple DNPs this week, but they said that is going to be happening the rest of the year just to preserve him, give him rest. The Broncos defense, an elite defense, held Carolina to 14, Saints to 10, Chargers to 23. I think that Baltimore will have their way, probably like the Browns last week. I think we're going to see 4 touchdowns all up, 2 in the air, 2 in the ground. 11 sacks, 6 of those at New Orleans, 2 picks, 2 fumbles, so they can turn the ball over. So as long as Baltimore plays it smart, this will be a fun one. Thanks so much for watching. Follow and subscribe at Fantasy FB Time. Welcome to Week 9. God bless.